morning and welcome back. I'm gonna hit you up with a little bit of updating and had some people on some forums asking some questions, so I'm gonna try to go through things a little bit here and there. Yeah, so far we're moving along. We're getting there. The old lady really wants me to be able to have my truck by Christmas. That way we can go up to Ohio. Gotta break it in, you know, all that stuff, being brand new and whatnot. But yeah, let's get right into it and go ahead and go over some of these things that I've had to go through and things that didn't work out so great and what I was able to do to easily get by those situations. So here we have my 2008 2500 single wheel, 4-door, 6-speed manual G56 truck. Currently P-pumping it. If you're new, just kind of going over everything to kind of do, you know, one good one. That way, if anybody doesn't watch all the other ones, it's no big deal. Step number 1, you need parts. You're going to need a pump if you're going to P-pump it. And the gears that are inside, you have to swap those. I mean, which pretty much, that's the easiest information to find out. Everything else gets a little bit trickier. What I did is I bought a parts truck and I used the engine off of it to steal the pump and the gears. I bought the crank gear and I had to use the cam gear off the other truck. But that's pretty easy. You torch it, put a puller, you know, yada yada, it goes back on. The way I got mine back on is I actually have a toaster oven out in the pole barn. I put it on like 400 degrees and left it in there for about an hour. Got real good and hot and it literally just dropped on, guys. I mean, it couldn't be any simpler. I didn't have to beat it. I didn't have to do nothing. It set all the way down, first try. No big deal. Now, the next thing you have to do, because you have to be able to run an alternator, and I personally want air conditioning still, is you have to be able to get your harmonic balancer on this thing. So depending on what timing case you go with, really determines on how easy or how hard it is going to be to get that thing on. Personally, I went with the Sigma. It was sold to me as would work just fine, but I learned the hard way that salesmen are going to sell you whatever they can sell you. That case cost me $1,500 from the salesman that I went through. I don't want to bash anybody. Well, the video might be a little choppy. Part of the reason why this is taking me so long is I own multiple businesses, and of course recording on my phone, if customers or business partners call, it's going to stop the video on me. So, leaving off where we left off, not naming any names, and except for one name, Rob Scheid. I am going to blast this guy as much as possible. This dude is phenomenal. Extremely phenomenal. Knows what he's talking about. I mean, really, really knows. As far as parts go and manufacturing goes, these are the guys that you're honestly buying from when you go to all these other companies. Most generally. So skip the middleman, give Rob a call, send all your money that way, make his stuff blow up even more. Anyways, continuing on, timing case, timing cover, it's a Sigma, competition only. I didn't read the fine print whenever I paid my invoice, so that's on me. But either way, I took it to the machine shop after talking to Rob, and he said you should be able to just mill it down. I milled it down. This one here, one bolt, I gotta go get another one. It's just a little too long, that's all. But yeah, I got some of these guys. It's gonna be really hard to see probably, but oh man. I don't know if y'all can see anything in there. I can't see nothing. But there's some different bolts in there. It was all milled down. Ironically enough, that's the motor that came out of this truck. And on front of the harmonic balancer, it had this weird bracket looking thingy. And I cut the tabs off of it, put it behind it instead of in front of it. That way it spaced it out enough to clear the cover. Now, you can see the grooves where the old belt used to run. I moved it all over about a 1/16 to an 1/8, probably closer to an 1/8. So it's going to run right in the middle of this spot that's not wore down now. So it's only going to move over about half of that gap. Not a big deal. I'm really hoping it's not going to interfere with this too much or the AC too much, but I'm pretty techno savvy and I can metal work just fine. So if it does, an 1/8 ain't nothing. I can make it right. Moving on from that, so we got the gears, we got the cover and case figured out. When I did mount this P-pump on here, it actually did hit the head. You know, again, this is a 6.7 head. A lot of guys go with the 5.9 common rail head, which I didn't want to do because my budget didn't allow for me to go behind another head or a third motor. So I did that. Honestly, with this case, pumping this head, it was so close, it's ridiculous. I literally had to take maybe a 1/16 off of the side of the pump, right around an ear on a bolt. I mean, you can't really see it because it's all installed now, but way down back in there is where I had to file it just a little bit, and it cleared just fine. So now again, I bought a truck for $3,500, not running, but complete, to get the parts I needed for this, minus a few that I had already paid for and shipped to me. With that truck, you get your vacuum pump assembly, because this one does not bolt up to this case. So you have to have that, which again is another reason why I bought the whole truck, to get everything I needed. You know, brackets for throttle linkages, everything. I got all that from that parts truck. It's real simple though. You swap this line and this line. Whoa, I can't see through my sunglasses. Yeah, the sun. Yeah, so the two lines on that, you swap to that, get rid of that one. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. After that, I called Rob again, and he got me the lines to go for the 6.7 head from the P-pump. And they also are making, or had made, new intake plates. So I got him to send me one of those. Makes it a lot easier to be able to get that #1 fuel line on. I went with 275 over injectors. Yeah, probably didn't need that, but we're doing it. I'm hoping for about 800 horse to the wheel, so that's what they told me I needed. I'm not some Cummins expert. I'm just confident that I know I can get things done. Big BorgWarner turbo came with the truck. I really don't even know what size it is. I've took it all apart and measured the fins and done all that good stuff. And the exhaust housing is 101, I do believe. And the small wheel is 68 or 67, if I remember right. And the big part of the wheel was, shoot, I can't remember now, but I got it written down somewhere. I don't know. It's bigger than factory, so eventually I'm going with compounds regardless. So I'm not really worried about it. But yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot else you have to worry about. I mean, you got your return lines, your feed line, it's your basic Cummins stuff. It's all going to be the same. Everything pretty much matches between all these motors, so it's not like it's rocket science. You just have to be able to know your tolerances. Pay attention to tolerances. If you're going to rebuild an engine, make sure you do your ring gap, all the different tolerances. You know, this one I went heavy, so it's got a really open gap on it because I anticipate running hot. I just want to go fast. That's it. One more thing is, what do you do with the ECM? Well, once you P-pump this motor, that ECM is going to start freaking out. You're going to have check engine lights. It's just going to happen. It's the nature of the beast. You're taking in a truck that's meant to have a computer telling it what's happening, and you're getting rid of everything that's telling it what's happening anymore. So you're going to have a check engine light. Personally, I'm going to hook the ECM up, mount it to the fender well somewhere, hide it, tuck it up in there, and hopefully forget about it. Eventually, I do think I'm going to go ahead and put a cam sensor on this just for tack reasons, unless somebody else out there knows a better way or easier way to get the tack. Everything else I've already got on the cluster pods, stuff like that, so I don't really need any other gauges. Yeah, ECM, power steering, P-pump, gears, timing cover, timing case. You have your options on the timing cover, timing case. Some guys will take a factory 12 valve timing cover, and if you go that route, you're going to have to machine the block. And by machining, I more or less mean, you're going to have to put bolts in, weld holes, and then re-drill and re-thread those holes slightly offset to make them work. It's just too much work for me. I'm not interested in doing all that. I got too many things going on at one time. I mean, like I said, multiple businesses. We have construction company with our bus. Let's see if I can get out here far enough for you to see my little redneck oasis. There's an all-wheel drive quad steer Dodge Stealth twin turbo. We do a little auto mechanicing. Got the food truck right there. Good old grill next door. Barco, more custom project stuff. A lot of mechanicing, wood shopping, building motorcycles. We do it all. Literally do it all. We even sell equipment for keeping sanitary situations, like hospital grade equipment that keeps everything virus free. And that's what affords this. Moving on to that next part of it. I think I've said it in another previous video. 10 grand. That's where I'm at right now. As we sit. 10 grand. Just in that motor. And that's with the block, timing cover, timing case setup, gears, buying the parts truck for all the other parts. With the first company I went through, which it was a headache. I'll tell you what, it was an extreme headache. They do good work on their own, but when you're just a guy calling from Florida halfway across the country, I think a lot gets missed in translation. So that's what happened with me. I got a lot of the parts I did need, but I got a lot of parts that actually ended up being wrong for me or just not what I wanted. So in the end, machine work, all that stuff, about 10 grand into that motor. And I paid almost 20 for the whole truck. So you're looking at about 30K total if you're interested in starting from scratch. And again, I bought a block, that block right there. I bought it in Alabama for 400 bucks. Had the crank and cam already in it, and I basically just pulled my motor out and start putting parts on that one. Machine shop, all that good stuff. So the one thing I do have left to do on this that is kind of tricky, and I'm not sure on how it's going to happen just yet, it's a tensioner. There's usually, you can see imprinted in there, there's a bracket that bolts on right there with a really big pulley that the fan mounts to. It hits the case right here, right above that bolt. And there's really not shit that I can do about that. So we're X-naying the fan, we're X-naying that pulley. We're gonna figure out the tensioner, what angle it needs to be at, because right now it's actually supposed to be here, but when I put it there, it hits both of these pulleys in its motion. So I don't really trust it fitting right, and I'm gonna need a shorter belt anyways, so I'll figure that out. But we're X-naying that, we run electric fans, not a big deal, and then just have the belt off this side. But yeah, guys, that's where we're at. It's getting there. Can't wait. It's been too long. I think honestly, I bought this truck 2 years ago. A year after I bought it, I took it off the road because a local diesel mechanic told me it had injector issues. So I paid him $3,600 to change the injectors. On the drive home, it did all the same stuff that I dropped it off into him for, so I got screwed on that. Got it home, pulled everything out myself, found out it had low compression in number 6, and number 5 was starting to show signs of lowering compression. The rest of the cylinders were all about, I want to say they were around 390. Number 6 was like 200, and number 5 was like 300 on compression. So, note to self, guys, don't always think white smoke means an injector, first of all. Low compression most absolutely will blow tons of white smoke. And, yeah, it's not an easy fix when you got that one. You might as well just buy another motor. You can pick them. I know I can get a new 6.7 running complete for about $3,500, $4,000 here in Florida at our local scrapyard. But, yeah, I mean, that was what happened. Now it's been a year since this truck's been down. I have a 20-yard tandem dually dump trailer that I normally would tow with this truck, my skid steer and everything in it, but I've had to rely on, luckily we got a great community and a great affiliate system of contractors here, so it ain't put me down too bad, but I'm down enough to where I miss my damn truck. But we're getting there. Hopefully by Christmas it'll be back up. I'm hoping way before that. I'm trying to get a couple things done on it here in the next couple days, honestly. And yeah, we'll be doing it big. So I appreciate you guys checking in. If you got any more questions, comment. You know the routine. Like, subscribe, help me build this channel. You know, I'm not trying to get out there and show up anybody or anything like that. I just want to do what everybody else wants to do. I want to kill every tire I put on that truck. And, you know, go fast. Just like Ricky Bobby did. Alright, guys. God bless. Y'all have a good one. Bye.